Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video on lubricants and penetrating oils that I have around the shop. I'm going to give you guys kind of my opinions, thoughts, and experiences, and hopefully you will return the favor and give me yours. I'm going to start with the least effective to the most effective that I have dealt with. We'll start with WD-40. Everybody knows WD-40. Not everybody knows what it stands for though. It is known as Water Displacement Formula number 40. So yes, it is designed to displace water. This is the most modern style where you have the built-in nozzle. Now, see if I can find it on here. No. Well, they show you lubricants, penetrates, protects, displaces moisture. But there's countless jobs really that it can do, from lubricating, penetrating to various other things. I mean, it has tons of household uses. I tend to use it as a lubricant or protectant spray. It does evaporate, it seems, so I don't use it as much as a protectant, but I do use it. I'm going to shoot this on this rusty bolt here and kind of show you what it looks like for those who don't know. That's exactly what it's supposed to look like. Now, you'll notice that these are all supposed to have kind of a capillary action. I've already seen this start to work its way up just a little bit. I don't know how well you guys can tell from where it started, but so it does have a bit of capillary action on that bolt. That's WD-40. I tend to use this a lot for cleaning carbon deposits on heads of small engines, carburetor gunk. Mainly it was a cleaner. It dissolves a lot of different things. I actually used it a lot for cleaning up my toolbox when I did the slides. I sprayed it in the slides, and I would take a rag in there and scrub it, and so on and so forth. I also use it, like I say, cleaning heads, cleaning valves, just as a general cleaner and lubricant. If I need something to stop squeaking, I'll squirt it on that. Works really great. But it's not really the greatest penetrant. I mean, you can set on the lead soak, but it doesn't really seem to bust things loose like others. Next up on my list, personally, is liquid wrench penetrating oil. I do not really find it to be effective. I've seen it used. Some guys buy it. It's cheaper than others. I think this is maybe $3 a can. I don't remember. I don't normally buy it. I ended up with it somehow or another. Actually, I don't even remember how. But I'll show you what it looks like. It's similar to WD-40. You'll notice the way it looks. Looks a lot like it. It smells kind of bad. It's not nearly as nice as WD-40 in smell. You'll notice that it has sort of crept just a touch, but not no better than the rest. Or better than WD-40. Now, I've used this in a professional shop back when I worked on small engines, actually professionally for a couple of years. The boss had bought that once because it went on sale. We used to use WD-40 all the time, and that I did not care for it at all. It just didn't seem to work very well. I mean, it was a fine lubricant, but it wasn't a penetrating oil. That was what like PB Blaster and some others are for. Next up, this may seem kind of funny, but brake clean can actually be a penetrant at times, because it will actually eat away at rust to an extent. So if you take it, put the nozzle on and spray it, it will actually soak in a little bit. Now this isn't going to be a very good show of it because it's mainly a cleaner, but I'll show you just kind of what it looks like on the steel. See, it doesn't foam, doesn't really have any of that action. It's just meant mainly to clean, but it will eventually eat away at rust just a little bit and help break things free. It's a mild penetrant, but it's some pretty nasty stuff otherwise, because see, I've seen it on fresh paint. You spray it on a valve cover or something, and it'll actually bubble and make that paint shrink. It's some pretty strong stuff. You don't want to really get it on paint at all. It'll affect that quite a bit. So it is something you can use. It is kind of like in a pinch thing if that's all you got. I wouldn't be afraid to use it. It does have some properties where it could soak in and help you out. It's not going to lubricate because it's meant to mainly clean, but it does have a little bit of a chemical reaction where it will kind of eat away at rust. Next up on my list is Seafoam Deep Creep. If I can get this lid off, hang on. Okay. Seafoam Deep Creep is actually a very good item. I tend to shake it for some reason. I'm going to save some of these bolts for later to show you, but this is what it looks like. does foam up a little bit, just like the others. It kind of sits there. You can see it. It'll sit there and kind of do its job. It has a fairly pleasant smell to it. It's not a very bad smell like, say, perhaps brake. It's actually similar to brake clean smell just a little bit. But then if you were to compare it to, like, say, this PB Blaster, it is definitely a lot better smelling. Because PB Blaster, while it is a very good product, and it has many uses, and I've seen the videos online where they show it eating through styrofoam and all that. And I've used it many a year, and it does work. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. Versus that can they give you, the trigger ends up getting messed up. It don't work very well, and it leaks. It's cheaper to buy it by the gallon than it is by the can, obviously. Most time guys buy it by the can. Like I say, I do have it by the gallon as an option. JB80. Now JB80 was created to compete with WD-40. WD-40, JB80. Twice as good, JB80. It's a Justice Brother product, made in USA, like I believe all the others. I know WD-40 is, Liquid Wrench, Blaster, and Deep Creep, and Brake Clean should be USA. But JB80 is also a penetrating oil. This eliminates squeaks, protects metal from corrosion, and loosens anything rusted. I've had good luck with this. I actually think it might work just a touch better than, say, PB Blaster. I'm just going to throw this on the, so you can kind of see what it looks like there. It has the same kind of look to it. It foams up. It's kind of a yellowish liquid. It has a little bit less strong smell than maybe PB Blaster, but I have had good luck with that over the years. I've used it to break loose stuff. Now, the biggest thing that I find of any of these products is, in general, I think everybody is rushing to do it. A lot of times what you'll do is you spray it on there quick. You might let it set for a little bit while you go do something else. Then you'll hit it again, and whether it works or not is whether you feel it's good or not. But I believe it takes a lot more time for that stuff to actually work than, like, say 5-10 minutes, even though I've had some success with stuff saying 5-10 minutes. But that's all depending on the part that you're working on. It's really best to let it set for like maybe a half an hour, I think, or better, to really start doing its job. Even though I can see some of it creep on these bolts, but these bolts are rusty, but they're not going through a combined nut and bolt where you have tension against the threads. Because the idea of these products is for it to go, if you have a nut on here, you have threads mashing one another, they're pressure against each other, you have nut coming down this way and then the bolt going that way, so they're in tension, so your area of contact is a lot less, you know, for that stuff to get through. So you need to give it time to work and actually do its job, because it will actually eventually work through and do what it's supposed to. Now if we go to this product here, this is a $16, if I can show this to you, it's $15.95. It's called Burr Breaker. Now I'm not going to show you this because you have to use a lot of it to kind of do what you're doing, but it looks similar to like a WD-40 product in color and look. But what you do is you'll spray it on, say, we'll say we're going to spray it on this. What I would do is I'd get down here where I can try and get into this, and I would freeze this bolt as much as possible, because the idea is it's supposed to contract stuff and break threads loose. Now what I would actually prefer to use, I would say, like a nut versus a bolt going into a casting. I don't think I got anything here to really, because these are all bolts. But because that would be best, because then you're really getting it in there where you need it to get on that stud that the nut is surrounding, so it breaks that bond and shrinks the bolt a little bit. Now, it's hard to believe that a can of that stuff is cold enough, even though you're spraying it for like 10 seconds according to the instructions. But I'll tell you what, I had to buy that one time because that was the only thing available near me to buy to break loose something. So I brought it back to where I was working, sprayed it on the connection I was working on, and I'll be damned if that thing didn't move. And I mean, I've been trying forever to get this thing off. I've probably been at an hour trying to get this thing to move. You know, wrenches and heat and carrying on, nothing worked. So I had gotten that, sprayed it in there for that 5 to 10 seconds that it says, and it started to move, and I did it again and worked it and did it again and worked it, and it actually did exactly what it said it would do. So it was, that $16 definitely saved the day that day. Now, here is an item that not everybody will know. It's called Kroil oil. This is what they call Kroil because this is the aerosol spray, but they make this in an oil form. They make silicone sprays and many other. Now this is like $13 a can, but this stuff is very good. It comes from Cano Labs, which you can only buy direct from the manufacturer online. What I did is I bought one that was, I don't know how well you guys caught that, but this is like a pink spray. Has a very good aroma. Actually, it smells really, really nice. I like it. So you know, so you don't smell really terrible, stinky at the end of the day. You know, because this stuff's just not an oily smell. Now, what this will do, this will actually work all the way up that bolt. I don't know if it'll work all the way up it while we're here, but I'll kind of monitor it as we go around. Now, if you kind of go back around just a little bit, you'll see the WD-40 hasn't really done anything, but it has worked its way up some. But it is very dry now. We go over here to our next. Now, we did deep creep. You can see that's still wet where the WD-40 is kind of dry, and it's cold in here. I don't know how warm it is today, but it's probably 30 or so, I would guess. So, you know, I can see my breath today. But that stuff isn't completely dry, but it's drier than the bolt next to it. And if we come back around here, you'll notice this one. Now this was, hang on a second. Very clean, deep creep. Oh, we must have done blaster on this one. Okay, but you'll notice how this one's still wet, and this one's still wet, where the WD-40 is kind of dried up. Just kind of as a observation. Now, another thing about this Kroil oil, not only is it expensive, it has to be shipped to you, but it is the best commercially available penetrant on the market today that I can find. It has worked 90% of the time versus the other ones working 75, 80. You know, they kind of have a range of working. So, if you have something that's really stuck and you absolutely know you want to do the absolute best shot you have to get it apart, other than fire, if you don't have an option to put a torch on it, grab a can of Kroil, spray it in there. You don't have to get carried away because it's expensive, don't get me wrong. Spray it in there, let it get in the threads, let it soak. You can come back to it and it'll work. You don't have to. It doesn't really have to soak that long either. This stuff is strong. It creeps and it breaks stuff loose. Well worth the $13 or $14 a can they want. Like I said, go online, canolabs.com, I believe it is, and you can usually buy one get one free, or they have a half price deal. You'll have to look, see what's going on. They run them throughout the year now and again. So keep a look at that. You can buy it on Amazon and stuff too, but I think you get the best trial and best deal right straight from them for your first use. We'll move on to the next thing. Now, yeah, that's the WD-40, but this isn't WD-40. This actually is ATF and Acetone. ATF and Acetone is a homemade brew. Now, if you were to look at it, it's just pink because it's a thinned out version of ATF. The acetone thins out the ATF, makes it get into tighter spots, but also has a little bit of a characteristic where I believe it eats away at the rust when it combines with the ATF. Now, the ATF is a thin fluid that has detergents. We all know it's automatic tranny fluid. It's designed for tight tolerances and leaves a film of oil on everything. Now, when you mix the two, shake it up, and you spray it on something, it just looks like pink fluid. Shake it up. The reason I shake it up is I think it helps it agitate it just a little bit. It just looks like what it is in the thing. Now, if you use this product, which is a combination of, once again, 50/50, acetone, ATF, you're going to break it loose. Damn near guaranteed. Compared to all these other products that I have here. Even the Kroil oil, it will break it loose just as well, if not better. 99% of the time, it will break it loose. I had a connection at a car wash when I used to work there. I've used it there a couple different times. It's broke stuff loose and nothing else would. I went back there because I've been off work and needed a little bit of fill-in work. I sprayed that on there, took torch to it, and got the pipe wrench on it, and I just kept beating it and beating it and beating it, and it eventually broke loose. But I had to heat it up with the torch, spray that in there, and when you spray that in a hot area, or you spray it on, let it soak and heat it up, you'll notice it bubble and boil, and it'll work its way into them threads more than any of these products will. Most of these will burn off. Basically, is what they're going to do when you put fire to them. They're just going to burn. Not saying that the acetone ATF doesn't burn, but it does it a little bit differently. It seems, excuse me, it seems to boil and work its way into those threads. And that, I think, is what really is the trick to breaking stuff loose, is getting it heated up, getting this stuff in there, and it busting loose the rust connection, because you have tension there, and once this gets rid of the rust in between the two, just that little bit, and then it'll free up just like it was supposed to. So I would dare you guys to mix the batch up. Grab a quarter ATF, grab a quarter can of acetone, mix them up, and be sure to do it in a sealed bottle like that, because otherwise it'll evaporate, because the acetone evaporates and all you're left is training fluid. Something else you can do is you can pour just straight ATF and motor oil on stuff. Take your pick, whatever you want. Standard motor oil, synthetic motor oil. I just put some motor oil or training fluid in a jug like this, and I squirt it on stuff as lubricants, and it will penetrate given time, but it's a very much thicker fluid other than training fluid. Engine oil is. And it doesn't necessarily sit there and penetrate, but it'll sit on there and it'll eventually work its way down over time. This would be something like, say you want to get, alright, let's say you want to get a cylinder unstuck. Pour some motor oil in there, let it sit. It'll eventually go through, but if you want to actually improve its odds, get some diesel fuel and mix that with it, and it'll all eventually work its way through, and it'll improve your odds. But it is a resort to use it as a lubricant when you're busting nuts loose. Pour some oil on it. If you can get it worked loose, then it's going to lubricate it, so it's at least something, versus having a dry bolt that you're trying to break loose and, you know, heating up and friction, because that's the biggest thing when you start taking stuff off too, is you're going to start having a lot of friction, and you might end up snapping the bolt just due to fatigue of the heat, or possibly stripping it depending on the situation. So that's kind of what I've run into in my shop, in my experiences, what I've done. And by far, the homemade stuff is going to be the winner. Now, you can also go to Popular Mechanics, or you're going to be best off searching this on the net. There was an a survey or test done years ago. I believe it was in Popular Mechanics, and probably copied by other magazines if I remember correctly. They did a test between ATF, acetone, Kroil, JB80, PB Blaster, and I believe WD-40. There may have been another one or different in there, but it was something to that effect. I'm pretty sure it was Kroil, ATF, PB Blaster, and WD-40. I don't remember if JB80 was in there, but they basically put all the major penetrants on the market together and tested to see which one did better than the other. And they all were rated at how much force it took to take that bolt apart after X amount of hours. And that one with the least amount of force to break it loose every time was the ATF and acetone mix. You go ahead and do a search on Google. You'll come up with, just type in what is the best penetrating oil, fluid, whatever you want to say, and you come up with a ton of threads on various forums, and they will all have their own variants of what they may use in their experiences also, but they almost always come to the point of talking about that article in Popular Mechanics. So I'll leave you with that. If you have any questions, give me a shout, and I'll try to reply. And I would like to see you put up some videos of your own in response to mine, what you guys have seen, done, ran into, what you've tried. Pretty good stuff to play with here, so give me a shot. I hope you liked the video, and I'll catch you later.